Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is Take One for the week of July 27. Peace be with you. By the time you see this video, I will be at the Churchwide Assembly at Phoenix. If you want to follow along the Churchwide Assembly, if you go to elca.org/assembly, I believe you can live stream the assembly if you're into all of that. I'm going, first of all, I'm going to fulfill my constitutional obligation, still being a bishop, through the 31st of August. I'm expected to go, so I'm going to do that. I'm going largely to observe as the church crosses over into whatever is coming next, because it'll cross over into what's coming next. Without me, I'll be making my way down the trail and crossing over into what's next for me. I'm going to say goodbye to some friends. I'm going to vote for presiding bishop and to vote for Bishop Matthew Regal of West Virginia to be the church's next secretary. And mostly I'm going because Chelsea Satterley is meeting me in Phoenix to help me navigate the assembly, and I get to spend a week with Chelsea. So that is the Churchwide Assembly. Now, this video is the first one that we are broadcasting on both YouTube and on my new Basilica on the Patreon network. I'm calling the site my new Basilica. And the Patreon site is a subscription service. You need to subscribe. You can subscribe for free. But in September, if you want to continue to get Take One, you're going to need to pick a paid subscription. I'm telling you all of this because I suspect that Chelsea and I will be chatting from the Churchwide Assembly, not on Facebook, but on Patreon. So if you want to be in on our chat from the Churchwide Assembly, you need to subscribe to my Patreon page. And we will put a link to my Patreon page in the description on my YouTube page. So that's what's happening with Churchwide. We leave and come home on August 3rd. And when we do, we will have a presiding bishop-elect and a secretary-elect. And we'll be moving on. The ELCA will be moving on to a brand new chapter. So that's kind of exciting. The readings for the 3rd of August continue to be interesting. We get more from Hosea, and this week the image of Hosea is, I would call God an unhappy or conflicted parent. Because as I said last week, we read in the reading that God gets to the point where God has had enough. Well, here we hear more about God having enough. God has been this parent that has raised the kid, and he really wants to give up on the kid, but Israel is God's child, and God can't do that. So the anger subsides, and the loving parent returns. That's what we get in Hosea. In Colossians, we are exhorted to put our minds on the things that are above and not the things of the earth. And the author spells some of those out. My thoughts immediately went to Martin Luther, who talks about the daily struggle or journey of baptism is putting the old Adam, the Adam who sinned, to death, and rising as the new Adam, the one who is joined with Christ. And that means kind of setting aside or resisting our natural human tendencies in order to be Christ-like. And all I would say about that is it sounds really good in theory, and it is hard to do in practice, to not react as the world does or as we want to, but to try to respond in a Christ-like manner. And that's why it's daily dying and rising. because we get to try to do it all day and at the end of the day go to sleep. And then if it's gone well, we have to do it again the next day. And if it hasn't gone well, we get a new chance to do it again the next day. So Colossians made me think of daily dying and rising, baptism. And if I were preaching on Colossians, I would engage the struggle and talk about the reality that it is a struggle. And that, Jesus is in the struggle with us and we do our best. But we never get it right. And then the reading from Luke is one of my favorite parables. It's one brother says to Jesus, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. And Jesus is like, who made me a judge over you? And then Jesus advises, beware of all forms of greed. And he tells this parable about the lands of a farmer that produced a lot. And he's like, what am I going to do? And he pulls down the barns and builds bigger barns and puts everything in. And it's like, oh, good, I have plenty for many years. Eat, drink, and be merry. And God says, you fool, this night your soul will be demanded of you, or your life will be demanded of you. And all the things you prepared, whose will they be? And I realized decades ago now that God does not say, you fool, tonight I demand your soul of you, or your life of you. This night your life is demanded of you. Who is demanding the things? The life. Who is demanded the life? And I've decided it is not God. It is the possessions stored up in the barns. And the point of greed is greed left unchecked. Greed and collecting more and more and possessions. Pretty soon the possessions own us. Because either we need to protect the possessions we have, or we convince ourselves we never have enough and we want more and more and more. And so greed can demand and command our lives. And Jesus frees us from greed. So what is the best way to fight greed? Well, I think if we go back to Colossians, it's to set our minds on the things above, the things that concern Christ. And that means turning our money and possessions from ends in themselves to means of proclaiming the gospel and furthering the reign of God. And that means giving money away. We disempower money the most. We curb our greed when we give money away. And then our possessions and our money go from things that would claim our lives to means of grace that give life to others. And so we can of course aim this squarely at individuals. We also need to consider this as a church. Because when any expression of the church, when their concern is having enough money or not spending money because if we spend it, we don't have it. The church's favorite one is like, if we spend this money, we won't have it for all this mission and ministry that we're going to do. Yeah, whatever that is. And, the theoretical mission and ministry gives us the sanctified reason to hang on to our money. So all of this week is about it comes from Colossians, the invitation to set our minds on the things that are above by being a child that returns to the parent, by drowning the old Adam, by controlling our greed, by giving away. What is the good news in all of this? We can set our minds on the things that are above because we have been joined to Jesus Christ, who is above, seated at God's right hand, and reigns from above. And we are a part of God's reign. I hope you'll join me this week in praying for the church-wide assembly, that we set our minds on the things that are above. I'm Bishop Craig. think of me while I'm in Phoenix. The peace of Christ be with you always. Take care.